Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus here again. A few days ago, I prepared a video for you entitled Who's Fooling Who? And I'm coming back tonight to follow up with that, and it's entitled Who's Fooling Who? The Truth. As I've indicated, I have spent 30-some years sharing a message with you about the way all the earth is supposed to operate under the true rules of life. Peace, prosperity, and joy as a result. I've also indicated to you reasons why that does not occur. I've mentioned to you that there is something here that's positive on this planet and something called that is negative. And in terms of the conduct of the people, I'm referring to the righteous way of living, which is a way that embraces through love the companionship and the relationship between all humans. The other is hate, selfishness, which is an expression of one's efforts to control, to manipulate, to exploit all things for an individual purpose or group purpose, whatever, but never for the entire population. And I've mentioned to you how mostly everything is exploited, taken advantage of. And I wanted to take that tonight and share with you something that might be able to make it a little bit clearer to you of what I've been mentioning. You know, I have said to you that the antigod, which is the negative forces, is already in control of the earth. God is allowing that to happen because it is the will of we the people. We the people have accepted the antigod's way. Now, the reason that some nations are able to exist without going totally into chaos is because these people have not yet been totally deceived. And if you went too fast, if you tried to take over and drive a nail into their heads right away, it would wake them up, and the antigod would have a lot of trouble. So the antigod has determined that it would be best to move slowly, gradually, through all of the forces. What I'm saying is this. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I know your attention span is kind of like a child and you don't want to spend too much time on it. So I'm going to see if I can just make it quick. When I say that the antigod rules things through deception, most Americans realize that something is going on, but what, they don't know. And they're working so hard trying to survive from day to day, to pay the bills, to eat, to have some gasoline, to do the basic little things that allow them to exist. So much so that they don't have time to think. And if you're going to do any thinking, you're being programmed on what to think through the major media. And what the movies and etc., which they feed you what they want you to have or be exposed to, and basically control your thoughts. Not giving you the freedom to think as free will, but to think on what they have shared with you. Now, the deception in this particular video that I want to tell you about is, let's say, the NSA, the National Security Administration. Now, you got a young man who has given us all the information we need, who lives inside of the NSA, and come back and say, hey, this is the thing that is going on. These are the things that's going on, to let us know. And immediately, this gentleman is being attacked. And we, for however the programming has gone, don't spend too much time thinking about that. And when we do think about it, we just think about the trouble that this gentleman has. And that is not involving us, we say. Well, that's part of the program. They expect that. So when we get this information, as I give you information, I try to tell you that there's a God, a real God, a God of love, who wants all of us to live as today as though we're in paradise. And that in order to do that, we must treat each other as though we're brothers, because we are brothers. And God is the parent. But through the lies that we have received from other forces, we say we believe that, but we don't. We don't believe that. In the Bible that we use to try to give us information about God, it's been tampered with. So we don't really know what to think. That's why you got so many different denominations, so many different churches, and all of them using the Bible to preach supposedly about the God, but they all got little differences. That's why they are separate. And they do not allow the unity, the unifying, the coming together for the purpose of love. It exists for the purpose of separation, so that we can all be like lost sheep. The NSA comes up with a story, says that we have terrorism, we got to watch this and we got to watch that. And you say, well, to protect me, we, the people, say to protect us, we will allow you to do the things that you're doing. And we've allowed them to do what they are doing. What they have told us they were doing, they are doing that. But that's not the reason that they exist. They exist to do the things that the antigod was done. And right now, without going back into so much history, they are, as the information tells, going through the servers of the internet. They are going through the phone companies and collecting information on everybody. Well, it's kind of hard to get information on everybody, so they start off with keywords that if you mention it on the phone, mention it on email, it is immediately tapped and brought to the surface for their purposes. And we don't know anything. We're just going by thinking everything is cool. When they got cameras all on the highways, we think they're trying to protect us in case we have an accident, they can see us. But no, that's not the real reason. They can do that if they want to, and they can do that when need be. But the purpose of it is to be able to know where you are at any given time. Microphones here and there to know what you're talking about at any given time. And the purpose for doing all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is to amass as much information about the citizens of this nation and other nations. Everything they possibly can to know who you were talking to, when you were talking to them, and what you were talking about. And the reason that they do this is because they are putting a scheme. And in that scheme and scam, they're going to have to eventually do some vicious things. And some of us who believe in God, who believe in love, recognize that. And we begin to stand up and tell you about that. And as long as you don't listen, there's no problem. They won't draw attention to the situation, to themselves, or to the person that's talking, as long as you're not listening. But as soon as you start listening, they're going to go back and take every resource that they have available, every telephone call that they have of you making, every text message that they have of you making, everything that they can get their fingers on for stuff that you have done, they're going to scrutinize and find a little lie that you told, or find a little scheme that you were talking with a friend, and a little thing, and try to compile it together so when you are being listened to, they can use this to discredit you. Even use it sometimes if you've done something illegal to put you in jail, to keep the people's mind off of what you are doing so you can't focus on what they are doing. Now, I don't want to speak longer than 10 minutes, and it's 9 minutes so far, so I'm going to try to jump ahead. For what I'm telling you, you might not understand, or you might, but you can't really see it. But the things that happens to us, the antigod puts it before us. Let us know what it's doing. And, you know, to let us know, then we don't focus so much on it. We think it's fiction. But it's not fiction. So what I'm going to refer to you, ladies and gentlemen, just so you can get a clear picture of what I'm talking about, go to your video archives or to some other source, Netflix or anybody, or anything, and look up a movie called Enemy of the State. Enemy of the State. And I want you to do this because all people who are not part of the antigod are enemies of the state. All of them. Even those who support it. Its supporters are enemies of the state, but they don't treat them as an enemy just yet. They allow them to act like they got some freedom, some liberty. While everybody else who even think they got liberty and having some freedoms are enemies of the state. And this is why they are amassing all of this information on them, So at the point in time when things have gotten so tough, when things have gotten so rough and the enemy of the state is really on you, and you start feeling the pain and start trying to see and think for yourselves and stand up, then they're going to bring it down on you. They're going to do, and the plan is to do all people on earth, to treat them the same as they treated the Jews, to do all people on earth, to treat them the same way as they did the natives, what we call Indians, to treat them and do the same thing to all people on earth, the same thing that they did to blacks. And they're going to do it to all of us that they don't need. Look for the movie The Enemy of the State, starring Will Smith, and you will see exactly how the NSA works. Now, I'm referring you to that movie because watching this movie, you might be able to see exactly what I have said to you. Will you believe it? I don't know. But the reason that I want you to know this, and the reason I'm giving you this information, is to say to you this: we are here, and God is God. And I'm telling you this, you might not believe it, but I'm not trying to make you believe it. I'm just trying to give you some information that you can have something to work with. The world that we're living in has been allowed to be controlled by the Antichrist because it is the will of the people. Those people whose will says no, God allows us to be killed, because in order to stand up, just like, if the parts of the Bible is true, just like Lucifer that was kicked out of heaven with the 30 angels, this is the same thing that happens to good people on earth. They will not be allowed to exist. They will be kicked out. And Jesus, for those of you who still believe in Jesus, he gave us a message when he went to the cross. The cross says, if you do all the good that you can do nothing to harm anyone, be as perfect as you can be. And what will happen? If you continue to do that, you will go to the cross. Now, we have heard that Jesus didn't have to go to the cross. He could have brought down a host of angels to defend him, but God didn't allow that. That was not a part of the plan. See, going to the cross is the evidence. Doing good and going to the cross is the evidence that you trust God. You haven't seen God. You've seen the works of God, but you haven't seen him. But if you go to the cross for doing right, that means if you put up and let those people kill you for doing right, then you believe in God. And if God was able to make you and put you here on this earth and go through all of this hell that is perfected by the antigod, and you overcome that and believe God, then God has a place for that body that you're living in to go to the ground and turn to dirt. But that spirit that lives in you, God has another body for you and another place. And if you're dying because of doing good, then you are to go to a place where good is appreciated. Now, some of you call it heaven. I don't know where it is, but it's a place where good. And why do you go there? Because you deserve it. Now, you have been told that God will allow you to go to heaven without doing good. They have told you that a God as Christ is going to come back out of the clouds at some time in the future and save you. Now, the book tells us that the disciples believed that. And they waited around for 50 days thinking that Jesus was going to return. But Jesus does not return in the flesh that he was here in. Jesus returns in a spirit. And he enters into the bodies of the believers and transforms their lives. And so rather than having one Jesus, everybody that believes to the extent that they will do right and will allow nothing to change that, then that one is a representation of Jesus. Spread it all across. But they are known by their ability and their willingness to sacrifice their lives for good. To sacrifice their lives for good. You have been told that you cannot be that good, and that God will forgive you, that he made a way for you to come back to that wonderful place, even though you are not ready for it, which is a big old lie. And the reason you were told that lie was so you can remain complacent. That, and let me say, this is the sad part about it. So many of you don't know what's going on. You got a job, you work hard from day to day, you pay your bills, you go to church. You're not trying to get caught up in that other stuff. But whether you're trying to get caught up in it or not, you are a part of it. And your complacency allows the antigod to continue to perform its acts when you don't even know it. But through that complacency, you are empowering it. Now, what is God going to do for you? I don't know what's going to happen to anybody who does not die for doing good. I'm not going to say you're going to hell. I'm not going to say any of that because I don't know what happened to you. But I know God is a loving God. And for those who die for love, and I'm not talking about going to the battlefield fighting for some liar, fighting for some crook, fighting for some Illuminati, fighting for the 1%, fighting for the powers that be that represent the antigod. I'm talking about people in general. Now, I've made a mistake, should I say I've been victimized by speaking to you for 16 minutes. I gotta stop now. Look at the movie Enemy of the State and look at the movie Bait, starring, what's that guy's name? Jamie Foxx. And you can get a picture of how the antigod operates. Now, having said that, I gotta go right now. 16 minutes and 40 seconds, I gotta go. Bye-bye.